we have to talk about our top 5 favourite movies by the directors we previously talked about. I'm really sorry about the way this is lit. Basically what happened is the thing I usually put my camera on is a little bit damaged, and I'm going to fix it after this, but I haven't got time to fix it and do this video today. So I have to basically have this in handhold. So, top 5 movies by Steven Spielberg. At number 5 is a very underrated movie that no one talks about. In fact, one of his first, if not his first, it was called Duel. Duel is in like fight. The movie basically follows a businessman whose name is not actually important to the plot whatsoever, so we're just going to call him the businessman for this bit. But basically he is travelling throughout the West, like the somewhat wasteland of America. You know, like the dusty semi-desert that America has. So he's travelling through there, and this guy in a truck, who is never revealed who it is trying to track him down. And we have no idea what reasons he has for it, but basically the whole movie is basically one big chase scene, and the suspense keeps building and building and building. However, geniusly, there is no payoff, which means that Spielberg really shows his unique way of directing things. Because you'd think there would be a payoff of who this character is, but no, it's never revealed. It's just ends with the other track crashing, and him sitting on the end of the road, waiting to be picked up. So, number 4. Now, I'm probably going to get a lot of haters here, but number 4 is E.T. And you'll be like, why would you get a lot of haters, Finn? Everyone loves E.T. Exactly. Only putting it number 4 out of 5. Pretty low tier, but the other 3 I think are better films. So E.T. E.T. I like because if you look at like documentary footage and stuff like that, Steven Spielberg made this movie because he wanted to. He made this movie because he wanted a movie to exist to help kids going through divorce, because he did when he was a kid. So he made a movie about a family that had gone through a divorce and the struggles of a mother after a divorce, but also added like the fun side of being a kid, which is why E.T. is in the movie. So yeah, I really like that because it came from a personal story of Spielberg's. It came from a point of his life. He took experiences that he had in the real world and put them in there, and made a really entertaining kids film, which kind of, I would say, was a very big deal at the time and still is. So, number 3. Now we're getting into the really predictable stuff. Number 3, and this is going to be a big surprise for people who talk to me often, but number 3 is Jaws. And you'll be like, but Finn, I thought Jaws was your favourite movie of all time. It's not, that's just a common misconception. And, so 3, Jaws. What have I not said about Jaws already? Jaws is a masterpiece. He took everything he learnt from Jaws and he improved it. He made everything, all the suspense building, and amplified it to the extreme. Now, you'll be like, Finn, why isn't this higher on your list? Well, it's because there are 2 movies that I think overpower this, like, make it seem not as good, and one of them's for historical purposes, and the other one is because, surprise, it's one of my favourite movies, if not in my top 10 ever made. So number 2, the historical one, has to be Jurassic Park. And you'll be like, but Finn, you said Jurassic Park was your favourite Spielberg movie. And I did, but then somewhat had to rewatch some Spielberg movies after I made that video, and I realised that number 1 is better. But going back to Jurassic Park changed cinema, and that's not an understatement. I mean, it added all these effects that had never been seen before, and improved the standard for special effects, supposedly, which has never really been done since. Like, there's not been a big groundbreaker like Jurassic Park after its release. Some may argue Titanic by James Cameron, but no, I still think Jurassic Park still holds up today because it mixes CGI and practical effects in a really unique way. In fact, everyone says, oh, this movie has beautiful CGI. No, actually most of the movie is practical effects and very little is CGI. So moving on to number 1, my favourite Spielberg movie. And for people who really know me quite well, this will not surprise anyone. Number 1, Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. And you may be like, but Finn, how is this better than Jaws or Jurassic Park, 2 movies you've said you love? Well, Raiders of the Lost Ark is pretty much almost a perfect film. Um, Apart from one big flaw, which I'll reveal in a minute, but basically it mixes everything I like in a film. It mixes comedy, action, adventure, little bits of horror, little bits of romance, and likable characters. Puts all that together and it makes a unique viewing experience which, yes, took influence from the old adventure serials and like the Universal Mummy franchise, not the 90s one, I mean the one, and not the Boris Karloff one, the ones in between, like Hand of Mummy, Tomb of the Mummy, etc. It took inspiration from that sort of thing, and I think it really worked. It made like that kind of genre cool again, and I feel like it's in a whole league of its own, Indiana Jones. Now you'd be like, but Finn, you just said there was a glaring flaw. What is the flaw? The flaw is with Indiana Jones, the protagonist doesn't actually do much. If you take out Indiana Jones, the Nazis still would find the Ark, and in fact they would bring it to Hitler and they would end World War II by opening it. However, it's not the journey, it's not the destination that makes this film, it is the journey itself, because I feel like you have a unique experience that, once again, blends kind of 80s action and 50s action, and once again, I don't think anything has topped it. Not even its own sequels have really beaten it to its own unique angle. So there you go. My Spielberg list. Keep in mind, these are movies directed by Spielberg. If we were talking about produced by Spielberg, we would be here all day, because Spielberg has produced most of my favourite movies. So it makes sense that there would be a bit of bias there, but because we were talking about directed, they were my list. So yeah, that was just a quick little video. Sorry about the weird angle of this again. It's because the little thing I use, basically I use a stack of, like, what do you call it? A stack of, like, I think it's a stack of movies to emulate a tripod. But the thing is, the stack has been knocked over, so I can't actually do it. And you may be like, oh, but Finn, why don't you just put the stack back together? No, this is a very... there's a lot of movies that have to be put together to be able to make that tripod thing, because I can't afford a tripod. But apart from that, that was my quick apology for that, and they were my top 5 Spielberg movies directed by him. So yeah, the end. Bye.